people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
De la noche, Piñeiro.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. What's supposed to be the ring return of WBO welterweight champion Sandy Ryan, who's likely to return in late September. According to Eddie Hearn, I think it's very likely that you're going to see Sandy Ryan on that card in Sheffield on September 28th. I like the Stephanie Piñeiro fight. Obviously, we've seen her on a Matchroom show. Very good fighter. That could be next. We're just trying to finalize that. And context is key.
The Piñeiro fight is good. The Mayer fight is better.
Better in more ways than one. Remember that Michaela Mayer expressed an interest in facing Sandy Ryan next, and it was Sandy who put it off because she says she wants to unify. So what does it mean if you return to action, but it's not in a unification match? It's against a lesser known and less experienced fighter, less experienced professional than Michaela Mayer. It's bad optics.
It's not that the Piñeiro fight is bad, so much as the Mayer fight would be better, though more expensive.
Because, Michaela, she's not going to fight for peanuts on a dollar. She isn't. Stephanie Piñeiro, via her social media, seemingly dropping hints that she's about to do something big, fighting a big fight, likely hinting at that Sandy Ryan fight, sporting an unblemished record of 7 wins with no losses, no draws, 2 knockouts, to Sandy Ryan's 7 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 3 knockouts. Sandy doesn't have that many more fights than Stephanie does, but it's who Sandy has fought so far.
That's what really separates them. A solid contender and a very aggressive fighter in Canada's own Marie-Pierre Huel, a former champion 2 times in Erica Farias, and a reigning champion in Jessica McCaskill.
And Terry Harper. She ragdolled Terry Harper. That on paper, Sandy and Stephanie may have a similar number of fights, but they don't have the same level of experience against the same level of opposition. And that's what separates them. That's what gives Sandy a slight edge in this situation, that stylistically, Stephanie's got the right style for the job, but she still doesn't have the right level of experience. So the sooner the fight happens, the more it favors Sandy.
It's what we talked about.
What I said before, Stephanie already has a lot of the right ingredients to deal with a fighter like Sandy Ryan, but the one thing she's missing is rounds in the bank and experience against high-level opposition, somebody who can really push back.
She hasn't fought too many fighters like that. Sandy Ryan has.
So the sooner you make the fight, the more it favors the more experienced fighter who's more fully developed and rounded out. Whereas Stephanie, there's still more work needs doing. Even though she looked good in there with Tapia a few weeks ago, you notice that she got tired as the fight progressed. And she got tired and slowed down in a fight that she was winning, that she was dominating.
Because up until that point, the most she'd ever fought was for 6 rounds. That was her first 10-rounder.
Accenting what I mean when I say that Stephanie needs more experience. That is, to stand a better chance of winning, she needs more fights and more rounds in the bank. Where she's only ever been 10 rounds once, just once. Sandy's done that 5 times. 5 times already.
Experience matters.
So when they signed Stephanie Piñeiro, I wondered what the strategy was. Is there a long-term plan to develop her and try to make her into a draw? Or did they just sign her to feed her to another fighter? To feed her to Sandy Ryan?
Well, if she fights Sandy next, we have our answer.
From Diana Tapia to Sandy Ryan. That's a pretty broad leap.
In the UK.
This is what I mean when I say that Stephanie has the right ingredients to trouble a Sandy Ryan, but here and now, under these circumstances, especially in the UK, you got to give the edge to Sandy, because the sooner the fight happens, the more it favors the experienced fighter. And that ain't Stephanie, that's Sandy. So if they make this, the edge goes to Sandy to win a points decision.
Golden boy.
Yeah.
Really weird. I mean, terrible for boxing. You know, Oscar really makes some strange statements where on one hand he wants the best to fight the best and lets promoters work with each other, and then he tries to freeze out fights. Like, I don't know, like, you know, but I guess that's his way of trying to sign Shakur Stevenson. You know, for me,
Golden boy.
yeah, really weird. I mean, terrible for boxing. You know, Oscar really makes some strange statements where on one hand he wants the best to fight the best and lets promoters work with each other, and then he tries to freeze out fights. Like, I don't know, like, you know, but I guess that's his way of trying to sign Shakur Stevenson. You know, for me, maybe I can't deliver this Zepeda fight, but we're all on the same platform. It's one of the best fights in boxing. You'd hope that if Shakur did choose Matchroom, that DAZN would put the pressure on to make that fight. But, you know, Oscar's going to do what he's going to do. I think it's really bad for boxing just to make in-house fights and not to work with anyone else. But a bit of a wild, you know, post, but Oscar's Oscar.
Somewhat scatterbrained, inconsistent, downright hypocritical. The same guy that was saying that all the promoters need to start working together, those boundary lines need to be erased, is the same guy who's now saying the only way Shakur gets the Zepeda fight is if he signs the Golden Boy.
He's holding a fight to ransom for a new signee.
So if he signs the Matchroom, you're saying he doesn't get the fight. That's basically what you're saying. I don't think William is afraid of Shakur Stevenson, especially not after his last two fights. I don't think it's William per se. I think it all boils down to Oscar being an obstruction, an obstacle. That's what the problem is.
How do you reconcile that?
Last decade or so, a little longer than that, the Mayweather era convinced a lot of people that the only way to fight a fight is to be defensive, to be defensively minded. He was very good at what he did. The disconnect is that not everybody's Floyd Mayweather, and not everyone employing that strategy is going to have the success that he had, to where every guy that gets out there fighting out of a Philly shell, occasionally shooting a jab and being economic, the audience immediately assumes, oh, he's the next Floyd.
How many times have you heard that the last couple of years? You heard it about Devin, you hear it about Shakur.
It's like saying that Steve Claggett is the next Rocky Marciano because they're both pressure fighters, or he's the next Mike Tyson because he's a pressure fighter.
Sounds stupid, right?
Well, that's how you guys sound, saying that every pure boxer is the next Mayweather. That's how you sound.
William stands a chance.
Some people can't imagine that a fleet-of-foot, sugar-foot guy like Shakur Stevenson, a finesse fighter, could ever lose to someone as simple as a William Zepeda. Well, it may look simple to you from your couch or from ringside if you're in the audience, outside of the ring, but inside of the ring, dealing with a physical, persistent fighter like that, it's not so simple. It's not so easy. For every one punch you throw, he might throw 4, 5.
And maybe 3 of those punches don't get in, but 2 of them might, and those 2, they might do some damage if that happens often enough within a round, within the fight. Your boxer starts to wilt.
He might. All I'm saying is that stylistically, Williams got the right style for the job, and based on that, it's not outside the realm of possibility that he could beat Shakur. I don't think William is scared of him.
You think he is because of Oscar.
The one thing we both agree upon is that Oscar is an obstruction. He is the obstacle. He's the one that's holding up this fight. He absolutely is. He's holding it to ransom.
Quite hypocritically.
What happened to working with other promoters to make the best fights? If Shakur signs to Eddie, you don't want to work with him to do this thing?
What happened?
It's a little bit hard to conjure that Shakur is going to make a long-term commitment to Golden Boy Promotions for one fight, just one fight, that one fight. But at the same time, it's hard to conjure what Eddie Hearn can do for him when seemingly you'd be relying on access to someone else's fighters to make the best fights for him.
And who's going to give you that access?
You can write it into Shakur's contract that he can go to other places for other fights if need be. But who says those other promoters are going to want to do it? They want win-win scenarios to where if either guy wins, they win because they're both their fighters.
That ain't the case if he's signed to you.
It's going to be hard to Shakur secure Stevenson the fights he's looking for.
What?
Said it in plain English. Secure Stevenson don't get the Zepeda fight unless he signs the Golden Boy. I don't even know if he should.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place.
How he can circumvent that? Well, if If you go to 140, Eddie's got a lot going on up there.
He's got a lot of fighters up there.
Something to think about. In men's super lightweight news, Eddie Hearn has revealed there is talk in Australia for Liam Paro to defend his newly obtained IBF title against former unified champion George Cambodia in November. Hearn explained the Catterall versus Prograis winner and Devin Haney are also potential opponents.
For the following year, because they already made the fight between them. They're going to be fighting each other real soon.
Devin Haney, he's not coming back till the following year, though I sincerely doubt he's going to come back to 140 pounds. He's been labeled a champion in recess by the World Boxing Council.
He's not really in the running.
Do we like a Liam Paro versus George Kambosos fight? What I think is that Liam Paro has earned a homecoming fight. He's earned that, beating Montana Love and Subriel Matias on the road.
But do we like a Kambosos fight?
I think Liam Paro deserves a lighter touch based on what he's done so far. But that doesn't mean I'm a big fan of a Kambosos fight so much as I understand it. Between what Liam Paro just did and George Kambosos' name value in Australia, you could definitely sell it, though I don't have any illusions about what happens. George is coming off a knockout loss to a 36-year-old Vasyl Lomachenko at 135. So what do you imagine Liam's going to do to him at 140?
George is arguably 0-4 in his last 4 fights. He got knocked out by Loma. He should have lost to Maxie Hughes, and before that he lost to Devin 2 times.
I don't know for sure if they're going to get this guy a tune-up fight, a rebound fight between now and November. Time is running out, but if the plan is to go from getting knocked out by Loma straight away into a Liam Paro fight, Liam Paro wins.
Simple as.
Australia's breakout star Liam Paro, who was rumored to have dropped Shakur Stevenson in sparring. We know he knocked out Brock Jarvis in real life, knocked out Montana Love, and decisioned Subriel Matias, the would-be boogeyman, in his own neck of the woods. So Liam definitely earned a big homecoming fight and a lighter touch. He has.
But that doesn't mean I'm excited about it or you're excited about it. George Kambosos?
George isn't a big 135-pounder, and he's not a big puncher there. So if you move him up to 140, he doesn't have a big enough frame to distribute the weight evenly across his body. And like I said, this guy's arguably 0-4 in his last 4 fights.
Not trying to poo-poo on George. He's never one to shy away from a challenge. He fought Teofimo, he fought Devin, he fought Loma. Now he might fight Liam. He's got a warrior spirit. He's not a coward, but he ain't got no shot. Not in this fight, I don't think.
If they do it, they're doing it for obvious reasons. Because Liam's riding high in George's name, it's still worth some money. It's a all-Aussie showdown. There is a mild precedent to do it, so if they do it, I don't have any illusions about what happens, even though I understand. Now, as it pertains to Subriel Matias, Subriel, the former IBF champion, and what's going on with him.
He split from Panda.
His trainer, or former trainer now, who said, I hereby want to inform you that the world champion Subriel Matias and I, J. Panda Nahar, have decided to end the working relationship as coach and fighter. However, despite this, I want to thank you for the time and trust you have placed in me and the team, as well as the fact of having been crowned world champion under my tutelage. Even though we are no longer working together, Subriel and I are still great friends, and the esteem will not disappear. I am sure that he will be crowned a world champion again, so I wish him the greatest success today and always.
A seemingly amicable split.
No hard feelings, but Subriel must feel that he needs more than Panda can give him at this point on the heels of what is his second professional loss. A few names that come to mind that might be of service to Subriel.
And the way he fights.
You don't often hear the name of Mark Ramsey thrown around as much as you hear the name of a Derek James or a Robert Garcia. But Mark Ramsey, especially for a pressure guy,
could be a good fit for Subriel.
Training alongside other pressure fighters like him, like unified champion Artur Beterbiev, unbeaten up-and-comer Christian Mabili. These guys are pressure guys, volume guys, like Subriel is a pressure guy, a volume guy. I think the only hindrance is that Mark is based out of Canada, so if Subriel were to try to work with him, he'd have to relocate. Maybe go up there.
Maybe.
Another good shout for an offensively minded pressure fighter is Hall of Fame trainer Freddie Roach. Look at how different Jaime Munguia is now fighting. He's improved. he's better, even though he's coming off a loss to Canelo, and there's no shame in that. Just 2 fights in with Freddie Roach, and he's already showing signs of improvement. For Subriel, I don't think it would be a bad idea to train under Freddie at the Wildcard Gym.
It's a good show.
I think the only hindrance in that scenario would be that Freddie isn't wearing himself thin because he is getting up there in age, and he might have a full plate, might have a lot of guys he's already working with.
Manny Robles comes to mind. I got a high opinion of Manny.
Because I'm not a big fan of trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to change a fighter into something that they're not. You know, Subriel at his very best, he's an offensive whirlwind. He's a pressure guy, and you need to sharpen that, improve upon it, but you don't go trying to change him into something that he isn't. He's not a boxer. He's never going to be a Sugarfoot fighter.
And he shouldn't try to be.
There are things he's already good at, and you need to add to those things and sharpen those things while allowing him to maintain his identity as a fighter. He's a pressure guy. Just be a better pressure guy.
Remember a couple of years ago when they tried to turn Jarrett Hurd into a boxer? This was after he beat Erislandy Lara.
Jarrett Hurd, a pressure fighter, like Subriel is a pressure fighter. There was a moment there they tried to turn him into more of a boxer, more of a mover, more of a jabber, and it just looked unnatural, uncomfortable.
I think it was the Jason Wellborn fight.
It's really not a good idea most of the time, a transition like that. It's too dramatic.
And I haven't sold all my stock when it comes to Subriel, just because he lost to Liam Paro. Subriel didn't lose that fight because Subriel is a bad fighter, so much as Liam is a good fighter, better than advertised.
Having discussed it several times in several live streams here on the channel, I said it many times, even though I'm backing Subriel to win, Liam Paro is alive in that fight. He is. He's a live animal, live dog.
He won.
So after the fight, and after he lost to Liam, the Boo Birds got to chirping, the way they always do, talking about how Subriel was overrated or overhyped because he lost to Liam. I didn't agree with any of that, and I still think he beats Devin Haney. Stylistically, he's all wrong for Devin, an economic light puncher who can't hold a shot.
And Devin's propensity for breaking character, stepping into his jab and sitting in the pocket, sitting there too long and taking punishment, I think Subriel would knock him out.
I still think he'd knock him out, and I still think he'd give Teofimo a lot of problems.
Different base style.
Teo's got the right base style for the job, but I still question his power. I still question his durability. Can he get
respect?
Subriel's respect? And if he can't, can he withstand what punches get in? Because we just saw him there with Steve Claggett, and Steve had him pinned on the ropes for long portions of that fight, long spells.
Nothing against Steve, but Steve's a club fighter.
That's how he looked against the club fighter. So how would he hold up against a better grade of volume puncher, a better grade of pressure fighter?
It's a legitimate question.
That being said, Subriel is not with Panda Nahat anymore. He's in the market for a new trainer, and we'll see who he hires, where he winds up.